That is today's question. What the dog doing? Speaking of the dog, Riot finally revealed a Naafiri cinematic. Anyway, Hounds of Iron and Naafiri cinematic. So let's see what we have in here. Remember, Naafiri is the dog. Oh, this is the epilepsy warning, Riot. Nice. Desert Shurima. Okay, Edge.
Makes them pray.
Okay, that's Naafiri. There we go. Oh no. This looks fucking awesome. Is that the story of the blade?
Not even pray and make a choice.
Or that's how Naafiri sees possessing the bodies of the dogs.
Either give up or give chase. Alone, I starved. But together,
Okay.
we feast.
Okay, Edge. Ain't bad, Riot. Ain't bad when it comes down to cinematics. This one slaps. Oh, let's be real. This one absolutely slaps. Was that the flashbacks of the entire Shuriman? I feel like these are the flashbacks of the war. Of what straight up happened. Of course, where Naafiri is possessing them. The catapults. Who is fighting in here? We need Necrit. Pretty sure he has a full analysis. Yes, speaking of which, the lore of Naafiri cinematic explains, so let's go with Necrit. Hopefully he can provide us with some answers. So we start with TLDR, Dark in History.
It's been a while since we got a good League of Legends cinematic.
True that.
It's been a while since we got a League of Legends cinematic.
True
Riot
that.
is arguably at their best when they are dealing with creepy stuff. Be it stories about the Volibear, cinematics about Fiddlesticks, or even dealing with horrifying blood magic.
Oh bro, Fiddlesticks rework was absolutely bonkers when they released it. That was the most creepiest thing I ever saw. It was on the same level as Courage the Cowardly Dog TV show. That was on the same level. That was creepy as fuck.
So I'm happy to see that Naafiri fits right in. And today, I'm gonna show you all the creepy details you most likely didn't even notice in her cinematic.
I mean, in order to actually notice all of those details, what you have to do is download the video, go to video editing software, and go frame by frame. That's how you can see the details.
Now, usually,
That's the Cafe and War, if I'm correct. Yeah, probably that is a Cafe and War. Maybe.
I explain these for all the people who have no idea what League's lore is about. So let me give you a quick TLDR on who Naafiri even is. Long time ago, there was the Shuriman Empire right in the middle of the deserts.
Yep.
This Shuriman Empire had access to the Sun Disk, which is a giant floating structure that can reflect celestial magic. And the Shurimans use this Sun Disk to reflect the cosmic powers into their strongest soldiers and turn them into the Ascended.
Yep.
They've been doing this for a while, and at the end they ended up with a giant golden army of super soldiers.
Yeah, and these soldiers were fighting the Void because Void bad.
Years passed, the Empire started conquering everything else around them, until they encountered the Kingdom of Icathia.
There we go.
During this Icathian war, the Icathians knew their chances of survival were very small, which is why they called upon the Void to help them.
Yep, that's the one thing you shouldn't do.
The thing is, the Void is not something you even want to stand close to. And inevitably, as these super soldiers started fighting the void, their minds started getting corrupted, they started going a little bit mad, then their emperor died and they started going a little bit more mad.
Yeah, the whole story of Azir getting betrayed by Zeref, that's a story on its own. It's a fucking amazing story, by the way.
And then one of these super soldiers had an idea to invent blood magic.
Yeah, that is Alani. Lord knows I'm waiting for her to be released. Mommy's Alani knows what's up because she has the sickles in here. The most badass weapon when it comes down to darkened weapons. We've got Aatrox's sword, we've got scythe, we've got a dagger, we've got a bow. What else do we have? We have a giant crossbow. How do you call a giant crossbow? That's combined with the chick that was giant cannon size. We have a ballista, that's the one, yeah, ballista. And then we have the scythes in here. I'm getting Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls vibes combined with God of War, because these blades are attached to her, you know?
And of course, with all the madness, this blood magic became popular, and TLDR, everyone is a creepy bloody Darkin.
Yes.
The Darkin then started going even more mad, they started lusting for power, and so they just started killing everything. Until one being from the celestial heavens decided, maybe we should take care of the planet. And so, the Celestial, known as the Aspect of Twilight, came down on the planet and sealed all the Darkin inside weapons.
Well, technically she didn't seal, she showed the humans how to seal them into weapons. So that was kind of big side for Darkin.
And Naafiri right here just happened to be sealed inside a dagger. I skipped a lot of details, but that's the most basic TLDR of who Naafiri even is.
Yep.
A former Shuriman super soldier who went crazy, got turned into a Darkin with the blood magic, and then she got sealed inside a dagger by a celestial god. That's all you really need to know. So now, without further ado, let's have a look at Naafiri's cinematic. I'm gonna assume you have already watched it, so we're gonna go frame by frame and we're gonna explain every single detail you can find here.
That's exactly what I was talking about. If you want to fully analyze that, the trailer was fast. You have to download the video, go frame by frame in video editing software, that's it.
And believe me, there is a lot.
Oh, I bet.
Right at the beginning of the cinematic, where it introduces the dunes of Shurima, we can already point out one cool Easter egg. Here, you can see a horse. As far
What's wrong with the horse? Plot twist, that is Hecarim's dad.
as we know, Shurima doesn't really have a lot of native horses. In fact, we don't know if Shurima has any horses at all, because
True, that makes sense because they have only camels and lions.
these lands have a lot of other kinds of beasts that people ride on. It is most likely that these Shuriman horses actually come from Noxus. If you have a look at the Piltover Medarda map, you can find a place in Noxus where they breed horses that are specifically lightweight so that they can take them to Shurima, where the horses won't sink into the desert. So it is extremely likely that this horse is actually Noxian. Anyway, moving on, then the cinematic introduces the Tomb Raider. And this character actually has a bit of a story of his own. It is someone who delved into one of the Shuriman tombs, where he picked up the Darkin dagger, Naafiri, but you can see that the dagger is carefully wrapped in cloth. Because
Yeah, that's what I want to see, how he didn't get possessed. Is it that simple? Just wrap it in the cloth and that's it, you're safe? Seems kind of weak. If that's how you counter Darkin, seems kind of weak.
should any living being touch a Darkin weapon, the Darkin would immediately start taking over.
But what if you just wear a glove? So you want to hold Aatrox as a weapon, but you don't want to be possessed by Aatrox as a Darkin. Just wear a glove. Cheat code Pog Street up.
over their body, which of course means that you pretty much just die as the Darkin dominates your soul. You can actually see that for a brief moment the cinematic actually fakes the Tomb Raider pulling out the dagger to defend themselves, but instead it is faked into pulling out their sword. We then get a shot of the Hounds, who were confirmed to be the Shuriman Dune Hounds, a species we have technically not canonically seen yet.
Bro, that looks like a cat. That's more of a cat than a dog.
And of course, as any starving beast in the dunes would, the Hounds tore the Tomb Raider and the horse to shreds. At least we know that's what happened from the description, but of course, the cinematic won't show that. The most important part is, the dogs picked up the dagger. And from that point on, the cinematic goes into these nightmarish flashbacks that not only tell you the story of Naafiri, but it also tells you the story of how Naafiri took over the dogs' bodies. It begins with this shot of the dagger falling down into a chasm full of reaching bloody hands and animal limbs. You might recognize this because this is a direct reference to Varys' cinematic. There you could also see all the lost souls reaching for the Darkin. It is hard to grasp the exact meaning of this scene, but it is most likely showing you all the souls lost to the blood magic of the Darkin. Because at the end of the day, the reason why the Darkin look so horrifying is because it is mostly flesh grafted onto their own bodies. For a brief moment, there is a scene where the dagger just falls into the pit, but a few frames later it blends into the eye of one of the hounds. At the end of the cinematic, you may notice that this is actually part of Naafiri's design. The pack leader actually has the dagger infused into their skull. You then have the nightmarish scene that reveals you just a single eye, which splits into two eyes, which is exactly how cells work, and then it duplicates into dozens of eyes. This is teasing the fact that even though only a single dog picked up the dagger, the Darkin blood magic was able to take over the entire pack.
But the question is, why it doesn't work with humans like that? The moment a human picks up a sword, let's say Aatrox's sword, why not the entire human population getting wrecked and possessed by Aatrox? Or it's only because it's a Naafiri parasite? I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe humans are more demanding? Okay, so if we're going on the scale that, what's less demanding? I'm pretty sure somewhere at a certain moment in time, there was a scenario where Naafiri was just a dagger in the tomb, you know? And then a casual fly was just flying and sitting down on the dagger. Where do we draw the line? What can we possess, what can we not possess? How many of which we can possess? The Darkin Ballista is a chicken. Just saying, yeah, I feel it's like a Nika, no? Yeah, the Ballista is a chicken. Why only one chicken? Why not 20 chickens? Why not 5 chickens? Why not 1,000 chickens? Why one chicken? Question mark. Top 10 unsolved mysteries, chat.
And as the dagger falls further down, besides just human limbs, you start seeing humanoid hound limbs. We then get a quick flash of this scene. This, of course, is the giant Icathian Void Rift, which is referencing the
Void Rift? Yeah. The moment I saw that, I was instantly getting flashbacks from Kaisa and Bilva having fun time.
fact that the Darkin essentially came to be because of the Void. That is the corruption that made them go insane in the first place. Then for a few seconds you can actually see a human hand reaching out from the dagger.
But very small human, because dagger is small. That's a child's hand. Whatever you do not give this dagger to Jax or Cookie Lol. Just saying.
Before it gets pulled back in. This is actually the hand of Naafiri herself. This is Naafiri back when she was still a human. And it is showing you
so Naafiri is a child. Hold up.
How she is desperately trying to escape the prison of the weapon. As it fails to escape, it shows you the hounds, which teases the fact that these hounds are her only way to escape. After this, we get this flashback.
Is that a UFO? No, that's catapult.
This actually shows us the Icathian War. This is the moment the Golden Shuriman armies walked onto the kingdom of Icathia. It is when the Icathians summoned the Void, and again, that is when the Darkin came to be. After this flashback, yet again, there is another scene where the hand is trying to reach out. But you can see that now it has sharp claws. This is clever because while the previous hand was just a human Naafiri, after it flashed the Icathian War, the next step would be her Darkin form. So this is actually her Darkin hand. Then it quickly flashes into a humanoid form inside an eye, and you can see the hounds reaching for it. Of course, this is just foreshadowing what is going to happen. After this, the dagger spirals into more madness. You can see a glowing eye open at the bottom of the pit. Because of course, Naafiri's entire theme is around eyes. And then there is this cool shot.
Lore accurate counter to Lee Sin, Naafiri, because she's all about them eyes. She sees everything. Lee Sin, on the other hand, unlucky. But what if we give Naafiri's dagger to Lee Sin? Just an idea, chat.
Of the Shuriman Sun Disk, the symbol of all the golden god warriors. But it is covering the sun as it is turning red. Because of course, all the glorious soldiers were turned into the Darkin. After which, the cinematic turns full Darkin mode. And you start seeing dozens of eyes, teeth and arms everywhere. For a split of a second, they also flash this crumbling statue. This is actually very clever, because since it seems like this entire cinematic is actually just showing you the timeline of the Darkin, and even focusing on showing you the different hands of Naafiri as she transformed, that means that the next step would be the death of Azir. That was the final nail in the Darkin madness coffin. So this is most likely a fallen statue of Azir, because after he died, the Darkin were left without a leader, and they all started going power hungry. After this, we get a bit of a mental flashback. And I wonder if this is again a reference to Varys' cinematic, where you could see a very similar scene. At the beginning, here you can see the dagger without any power, and you can see Naafiri reaching for it. This might actually be a flashback from the scene where she got sealed inside her dagger. But then it immediately transitions into a nightmare where she is being chased by the hounds. This is because Naafiri didn't really want to be turned into a hound. To be fair, out of all the Darkin bodies that the other Darkin got, be it strong soldiers or even giant magical trees, a hound...
Hold up, who got a power to be a giant magical tree?
Strong soldiers or even...
Can we talk about this one real quick? That's a Darkin. Hello? Bol Cox is a tree from Bandle City. Imagine him going against Cho'Gath 1v1. God damn, Maokai's cousin. Yeah, Maokai, why don't you hang out with the cousin? Damn, he looks good.
Giant magical trees, a hound is not the most desirable one. And you can see as Naafiri starts running away from the hounds, in the shadow you can actually see Naafiri's darkened body. That's why her shadow is very spiky. On the next pillar, the shadow then moves onto 4 legs, and with the other pillars, she turns more and more into a hound. And this is because while she could have tried and fought the will of the hounds, and she could have stayed in her prison, which is what is indicated in the next scene, it's this one where the dagger is asleep, she realized that these hounds are her only way out. And so in the next scene, you can see Naafiri's human eye as it turns into the darkened eye of one of the hounds. Because that's the moment she gave in to the will of the pack. And even in the reflection of the dagger, you can see her hound form.
But what if you're Naafiri, you're taking this dagger as a hound, with a pack of hounds, you're taking it to the nearest village and just drop it to humans, unsuspecting humans, no? Some lady in her 50s, if she finds a knife in her kitchen, you know, that's a good kitchen knife, I might as well use it to make something, to either stab my husband or make some meals, you know? Might as well use this knife. And then she gets possessed by Naafiri. What about this idea? Because Naafiri is controlling the hounds. Why are we being stuck with the hounds?
Which is followed by the dagger opening its eye and shattering as it becomes part of her body. In the next flashback, it seems like you can see the aftermath of the Icathian War. But if you look into the background, you can actually see the exact same Shriman mountain from the beginning of the cinematic. So it shows you that this is the place where Naafiri became one of the hounds. Which of course makes sense because that's where the hounds picked up the dagger. And as the camera moves around, it is hinted even more that this is the aftermath of the Icathian War, because it seems like you can see the ascended weapons lying around.
Because the dagger is in the dog's skull. So, bro, we're going back to the same story, no? Back in my days, when I was chilling with Merlin, we had King Arthur's sword. It was in stone. If you pull out a sword, you become almighty, you know? They literally have video games right now, not video games, the arcades. The amusement parks have the same shenanigans. Pull out the sword out of the stone, you become the king. Same thing applies here. Pull out the dagger out of the living dog that is kinda spiky, become King OP, you know?
And of course, in case you missed it, you can see a reflection of one of the dogs inside one of these weapons. Then there is the scene where one of the Dune hounds just gets absolutely annihilated by the other dogs. Which is meant to show you that Naafiri's corruption of the blood magic can spread to other bodies as well. So while normally the other Darkin are focusing on taking over a single body, Naafiri can take over multiple bodies by spreading around. In fact, in the death post it was teased that this is her entire idea. In all the madness, she wants to spread the Darkin corruption around the world. After this, you can see this corruption morphing around until the pack leader comes out. And she bites into the sun. But for a single frame, the sun turns into the
That's the eye of Naruto. I've seen that in Naruto, bro. There's the edgy kid's eye. Should be red, no?
Shuriman sun disk, which not only teases how she came from the Shuriman Empire, but also how she now wants to annihilate it all with the darkened blood magic. This is honestly my favorite scene. Then there is an artistic cave in the shape of an eye, with the hounds happily living inside it, until it turns purple, once again teasing the voidy corruption. Then there is a zoom in on the peg, which is our first teaser of Naafiri herself in her hound form. Then there is a quick flash of the sun disk, which then flips upside down, which correlates to what happened to Naafiri here. And then literally for 5 frames you can see the eyes meld back together, as the hive mind of dogs focuses on the pack leader, which is Naafiri. And here you can see what I pointed out earlier. You can see how the dagger is now fused into her skull. And of course, then the...
Where? That's the skull, but where? Is that the dagger? Is that... It looks like an earring. Just pluck it away, there you go, you control Naafiri now. The eye is the dagger. What eye? There are 2 eyes in here. I feel like this earring is the dagger, because it looks like a dagger.
The scene goes heavy metal, which concludes this cinematic. Honestly, this was such a good...
The spiky eye. What spiky eye? Oh, this is the dagger, eh? That makes sense. Okay. Left eye from the boss to the ear. That's right eye. This is left eye. Right eye. Left eye. It is what it is.
Good one. It's been a while since I've seen this kind of hype around League of Legends. To be fair, the past few champions were good, but none of them really hit the spot.
What champions we had that were good? Name the last champions that we had that were good. Nope. Vex, nope. Nope. Zeri, nope. Viego, nope. Dyla, definitely not. Papa Zillion, there it is. Feel like Zillion was the last champion that actually hit the spot.
It could be just me, but again, I believe that Riot is at its best when they are dealing with creepy stuff. And again, it seems like this is definitely proving it. And in case you didn't notice that, this cinematic was animated in a very special way. The way it was dealing with frame rates might remind you of the animations of Legends of Runeterra, which unfortunately downgraded a little bit when it comes to its own cinematics. So I believe that team that did those old amazing cinematics around Legends of Runeterra was now moved onto League of Legends, which...
Because League of Legends cinematic team doesn't exist. Because we made record profits last year and we're making record profits this year. So what do we do with those record profits at Riot? We are removing King Cinematic team entirely. That's why we got no cinematic this year. So yeah, at least Riot isn't fixing their mistakes. Good job, Riot.
Which totally makes sense. But yes, it is a bit sad. The lore owes so much to Legends of Runeterra. But you know what? I'm just happy we got something.
Draw. Yeah. Also, what we need to wait for is League of Legends MMO. Yeah, Riot MMO. This is where we're gonna get the entire history. The entire lore, everything is going to be summed up in one place. Because right now it's just bits and pieces everywhere. Not in one place. That's kind of gringo. But yeah, it's going to take like, what, 5 years, 6 years? We can wait for it. Anyway, that's the video.